So typically, the more you know about something, the less money you're going to put out on it, right? I want to talk today how that's true about your car. This is AutOdometer, and every week we talk about how you can drastically reduce the cost of how much money you put into your car. And in these weekly videos, we like to give away a $25 gift card. If you watch the video until the end and answer the question that I put inside the video, leave a comment and I'll pin my favorite comment. And I'll send you a $25 Amazon gift card. So the car can be very intimidating and it can become very expensive to be able to maintain your car, right? You can put anywhere between $200 to $300 to $400 for an unexpected repair, or you could be paying $500, $600, $700 a month for a more reliable car. If you want to be able to put the least amount of money in your car, the cheapest option is to be able to buy a cheap car, pay cash, and do the work yourself. Now, most of the time, the car can be pretty intimidating, right? Well, today, I'd like to just go over the basics of the car. I'm going to list every single car system, and I've broken the car down into 13 different systems. I like to think of the car as a puzzle. You take these 13 different systems, you put them together as a puzzle piece, and you have the car. Now, in these 13 different systems, I'm going to list out the major components of the system. So at the end of this video, you're going to understand the basic parts of your car, and if you have a general idea of how these car parts work and how to fix them and how much they cost, how to fix them, you'll drastically reduce the overall amount of money that you'll be putting into your car. Alright, so what are these 13 systems? These 13 systems are the air intake system, the air conditioning system, the braking system, the electrical system, the exhaust system, the EVAP system or the evaporative emission control system, the fuel injection system, the PCV system or the positive crankcase ventilation system, the power steering system, the cooling system or the radiator system. You have your windshield washer fluid system, the engine as a whole, and the other would be your transmission. So there you have, in a nutshell, the 13 different puzzle pieces or car systems that make up your car in general. Now, each of these systems has about 4 to 6 different major components in them that make them up. The air intake system has 4 major components included in it. It has an air filter, it has an MAF or an MAP sensor, it has a throttle body, and it has an intake manifold. The air conditioning system has a condenser, a compressor, a blower, an expansion valve, a dryer, and an evaporator. The braking system starts with your pedal, your brake pedal. Then you have your master cylinder, you have your brake fluid reservoir, you have your fluid in the reservoir. If you have an ABS system in your car, you have an anti-lock braking system module. And then you have your brake pad, your calipers, and your rotors. In your electrical system, you have your starter, you have your battery, you have your alternator, you have your fuse box, and then you have a bunch of wiring and a bunch of electrical connectors that connects to each of the electrical components in your car. Next, you have the exhaust system. You have the exhaust manifold coming off your engine. You have the oxygen sensors. You have one oxygen sensor, then you hit your catalytic converter, then you have a second oxygen sensor, and then you have your muffler and your tailpipe. Next system, we have the EVAP system. You have your fuel tank, you have a charcoal canister, you have a vent valve, and you have a purge valve, and you also have the throttle body, which is part of the air intake system, but the EVAP system connects to the throttle body. So all these systems connect to each other. Like I said, it's a puzzle piece. One system has a component that connects to another component of another system. And all it is, to be able to understand how a car works, you take all 13 of these systems and you understand how one component connects to the other. And it actually starts to make the car seem a lot more simple than it actually is. Now I'm just going through these systems in basically alphabetical order, and I put the engine and the transmission system last, just to let you know that those two systems are two of the most complicated systems in the car. So after the EVAP system, you have the fuel injection system. you have the fuel injection system. It starts with the fuel tank. You have a fuel pump. It pumps fuel to a filter, and then that filter, after the filter, the fuel goes to a pressure regulator, which regulates the pressure to go into your fuel injectors. And then your fuel injectors ultimately pump the fuel into your engine. Next up, we have the PCV system, or the positive crankcase ventilation system. So in your engine, everything is closed off. Most of the things are closed off, and the PCV system allows air that has oil vapors in it to be transferred from the top of your engine to the bottom and back and forth, and it allows some of these oil vapors to be burned off in your air intake system. So the PCV system has a PCV valve, a bunch of tubing, like your breather tube, and the crankcase underneath your engine is involved in the PCV system. Next up, you have your power steering system. You start with the steering wheel. You have a shaft that goes down to a shaft between your two wheels. So you have a steering shaft, and then you have a drive shaft. You have your power steering fluid. You have a reservoir holding your power steering fluid. You have a pump, and you have tubing that pumps the fluid from the reservoir down to the drive shaft, or your what they call a rack and pinion bar between your two wheels. That fluid allows smooth movement as you turn your wheel. And then you have your tie rods that connects your wheels to the drive shaft to be able to turn the wheels left and right at the same time. Next up, we have the cooling system, or some people call it the radiator system. You have the radiator. Then you have the water pump, the thermostat, you have a heater valve, and you have a heater core. You also have a reservoir to hold the coolant, and you have the coolant itself, right? Next up, you have your windshield washer system. This is probably one of the most basic systems, but it is very important, especially when your windshield gets dirty, for safety factors and stuff, right? So you have your windshield washer fluid, you have your windshield washer fluid reservoir, and you have a pump. You have your wiper blades, and you have some associated tubing that allows the fluid to get up to your hood to be eventually sprayed onto your windshield. Then you have your engine. I like to think of the engine as 4 basic parts. You have your camshaft at the top that opens your intake and your exhaust valves. You have a piston with a piston chamber in the center, and you have the crankshaft at the bottom. And then last but not least, you have your transmission, which is probably the most expensive part in your car, probably one of the most expensive things to replace in your car as a whole. It can get upwards of near $2,000 to $3,000 depending on what type of car you have. Now the transmission, in the most basic sense, has a torque converter. It has a transmission fluid. It has the transmission body. And then in an automatic transmission, you have clutch packs that allow your car to shift different gears. And then your transmission is connected to a differential. So in a nutshell, that is the 13 basic systems of the car and the basic components of each of the systems of the car, right? So now that you understand the 60 to 70 different parts of the car, it starts to make the car a little bit more understandable, right? So if you understand the basic idea of each of these components, the 60 to 70 different components of the car, and you have a screwdriver or you have a wrench, you can be able to replace a lot of these things. Like, take, for example, your fuel filter, right? Your fuel filter should be changed every, 30 to 50,000 miles, depending on your manufacturer's suggestions. You change your own fuel filter out for $20, you could save yourself $70, $80 in labor, right? And if you don't change your fuel filter out, it could prematurely wear your fuel injectors, your fuel pressure regulator, and your fuel pump. So something as simple as changing your fuel filter out, you could do it yourself, right? With just a set of wrenches and maybe a screwdriver, and about 30 minutes worth of your time. So I am by no means an expert when it comes to the mechanics of the car. I want you to go down into the comments and let me know of anything that I missed that you feel needs to be added to this list of components of your car. Head down into the comments or leave me a comment letting me know what you think about this video. I'll pin my favorite comment and I'll send you a $25 Amazon gift card in the next week. Be sure to like this video Subscribe to AutOdometer if you like these weekly videos. I'm putting up these weekly videos every Friday, and you have a chance to win a $25 Amazon gift card every single Friday. If you want to learn more about how to reduce the overall cost of your car, be sure to check out AutOdometerAcademy.com. And with that, I'll see you next week.